Look at that, it's empty. How am I going to get to work?
It's stupidity that we're all queuing up, but this is my job.
Is there petrol shortages? No. It's mad, isn't it?
Supply chain chaos, soaring energy prices, an NHS buckling under a backlog, the threat of a COVID-19 resurgence. Any one of these challenges would be enough to cause serious concern, but they're all happening at once.
Is it going to last for months and could it affect Christmas?
I think the supply chains are very secure.
But this is about far more than just Christmas. It's about the risk of a much wider winter crisis. So what's going wrong? Who could be impacted? And how does the government plan to avoid the worst? Inflation has already been pushing up living costs, but as we head into the winter, those increases are likely to continue. Energy bills will rise significantly for most people due to a huge spike in the wholesale gas price. And the cost of everyday purchases, from fuel to food to furniture, is being driven up by problems caused in part by a shortage of drivers, post-Brexit trade changes, and global supply chain pressures resulting from the pandemic. The knock-on effect of all that is uncertainty, as the autumn rush for fuel has demonstrated.
I've got 15 miles of petrol left. I'm a community physio. I need petrol to do my job.
I was on the phone with my friend and he was driving past a petrol station and he was saying about how kind of busy it was.
I know what people are like because they tend to panic, don't they? And then that causes a shortage and makes it all worse.
While price increases and goods shortages will be felt by everyone, those on low incomes are going to be hit particularly hard. The government has been heavily criticised for pushing ahead with plans to remove the £20 weekly increase to universal credit just at the time these living cost pressures are kicking in. The furlough scheme is also about to come to an end. The government is hoping that employers who have kept staff on furlough for this long have done so because they intend to take those staff back. But if that doesn't happen, there could be hundreds of thousands of people finding themselves in a very difficult position.
We're about to enter winter. Winter is coming and people really should take this seriously.
The government has been clear that another winter lockdown would only be considered as an absolute last resort.
Any responsible government must prepare for all eventualities.
Given the rising living costs we've just discussed, they know that shutting down the economy again would be catastrophic, particularly for those in the retail and hospitality sectors who, after last year, cannot afford to miss another crucial Christmas business period. But there's also an acceptance in Westminster that with the colder months, people will mix more indoors and that a rise in cases is inevitable.
The important thing to remember is as we embark on the winter months, the virus have an inbuilt advantage.
The big bet is that the vaccine rollout will mean the number of people needing hospital treatment for COVID won't overwhelm the NHS. But there's no doubt that's a gamble. Adding to that uncertainty is the massive backlog that the NHS is currently dealing with following the pandemic. And that could be compounded by the seasonal pressures that normally affect the health service. An additional £5.5 billion has been given to the NHS in an effort to get to grips with those ever-growing waiting lists. But ministers acknowledge things could get worse before they get better. If there were serious disruption to Christmas as a result of a COVID resurgence or real chaos in the supply chains, there's no doubt that it would be politically damaging for Boris Johnson. But even if that is avoided, he'll be aware people are likely to start feeling the impact of these winter challenges in their daily lives long before December the 25th. The government has weathered a number of crises in the last 2 years, but that was largely thanks to an acceptance amongst large swathes of the electorate that the challenges posed by the COVID outbreak were unprecedented. The real political risk this winter is that voters have lost patience and are no longer willing to give ministers the benefit of the doubt.
Christmas is on. We're not going to turn the lights off.
When it comes to avoiding another lockdown, face covering rules, vaccine certificates for large venues and work from home guidance could all be reintroduced. And on the issue of supply shortages, Boris Johnson says he's confident the government can take steps to ease the pressures. A deal has been done with suppliers in an effort to fix the CO2 shortage after fears were raised by the food and drinks industry that it could lead to empty supermarket shelves and beer taps running dry. Some support is also likely for energy companies taking on the customers of providers that have gone bust. And when it comes to wider supply chain problems, ministers have said they believe market forces will ultimately be the solution as businesses adapt. But even if that's right, those changes won't happen overnight, so price rises in the short term look unavoidable. Put all of this together and you can see why navigating the winter of 2021 could be extremely challenging for the government and for the millions of people being impacted by a series of crises all happening at once.